Welcome to episode 231 of Empty the Bench of the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. He's Paul Lombardi. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Very close to 740 subscribers. So make sure you go check us out over there. ETBpodcast.com, where we have really built up on the blogging content, a lot of football, a lot of different things. So make sure you go check out our website, etbpodcast.com/blog, if you're looking for all of that. If you want to take the podcast on the road, you don't want to watch because it's easier to listen in the car, listen to the Empty the Bench podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, this show and this network presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much time let's try that again, because I can't read. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for a Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Okay, so a lot to get into, and Paul Lombardi from the 3&D is here to fill in for Tom this week, and I think this is actually perfect because we were discussing this beforehand. There's a lot of NBA we got to get into, including what's going on in round one of the NBA playoffs. Some series are over. Some are still going on. Some probably still shouldn't be going on, but that's a sore subject for certain teams. But we'll get into all that. Also, some rumors and speculation going on with LeBron. Gee, go figure. Including a certain destination from a unreliable source. Gee, go figure on that one again. We'll go into the business side as well, because a certain pre-halftime and post-show, which is known on the NBA side, could be on the move depending on where a certain NBA content package goes. So we'll get into all that. Update on Shohei Ohtani and the gambling scandal. There are details that have officially come out from ESPN sourcing and reporting, which you and I didn't even know have come out. So we'll get into all that. Also, Mike Trout needs knee surgery. This guy can't catch a break whatsoever at all. So we'll talk about that. Also, a Georgia pitcher suspected of cheating versus Texas A&M. And this was bizarre. There's a video out there. We don't have the video, but if you go and you look and find it, it's very odd. And then also, just for old time's sake, since you're here, Chiefs signed Travis Kelce, which is not a huge shocker, but everyone was kind of up in arms and in panic, which I really didn't understand. We all knew he was coming back.
Yeah.
So we'll get to all that. We have a lot to get into, but right off the bat, let's talk about the NBA playoffs. So I was saying to you beforehand, the West is not the shocker in this one. Like, Thunder advanced on a sweep. There's not really much you could say there. There was no Zion, and Brandon Ingram disappeared.
Yep, exactly.
What happened to Brandon Ingram? Like, did he forget how to be a star?
And it was very interesting. We talked about it this week on the show as well. He has just kind of proven himself that he's not an all-star and he's not a number one option. Not that many people believed that was the case, but this has happened too many times that he's probably not even a number two option. I mean, your best player goes down and he goes completely cold in the playoff series. He's not nearly the player that a lot of people thought that he was going to be out of college. He became a good scorer, but he doesn't really do much else. And he shot terribly from the field throughout the series against OKC. OKC just manhandled New Orleans. I mean, without Zion, that team just looked in complete desperation mode. And it's not much of a shock because 2 years ago, when Zion played practically the whole season, they were good and they made the playoffs. Last year, Zion missed all but I think like a handful of games, only played a handful of games, and the Pelicans were well under 500 and missed the playoffs. And then he played practically this entire season, and they almost were a top 6 team in the West. So that if the last 3 years doesn't show you anything, then you're not looking hard enough, because the Pelicans run on Zion Williamson. Whether you don't like his game, whether you think he's hurt or not, when he plays, he's a difference maker, and they completely run on him. And CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram are not the guys that can hold down the fort and to create a playoff team just by themselves.
I mean, going back to the last game, the play-in game against the Lakers, Zion put up 40 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately got hurt at the very end of the game. And that was basically a death blow for the Pelicans right there. That was the end of their series. I looked up the Ingram numbers because they're as bad. Like, you're not even being harsh enough when you say he was terrible in this series. And I was, myself and a few others were actually watching this game on Playback, and Brandon Ingram went 2 for 14 from the field. Let me say that one more time. 2 for 14 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. I mean, -3 plus minus. You know that's bad right off the bat.
Exactly.
But 2 of 14.
I mean, his entire series, he never broke 20 points as the number one scoring option for a playoff team. He never surpassed 20 points. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I looked at the 4. I remember the first 3 games he didn't pass 20 points. I'm pretty sure he didn't pass it in game 4. That's just inexcusable.
He didn't even have 10. He got 8 points in game 4.
8 points, and then I think he had like 17, like 15, like just random games like that through the first 3 games.
I mean, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, it's insignificant numbers. I mean, like
as the go-to option too. I mean, it's just, if you're a Pelicans fan right now, you got to be frustrated. And where do you go from here? You gotta really wonder, like, what do the Pelicans do?
He's a free agent, right?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
I thought I read he was a free agent, but I can check that.
I might be able to grab that. If he's a free agent, I mean, letting him walk definitely seems like the likely situation, the likely scenario.
Oh no, he's got one more year.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, he's a free agent 25-26.
Yeah, so he's got 1 year, 36 mil left for next season.
That's insane. He's not worth that at all.
And CJ McCollum's got 2 years left. 2 years at 64. So
he came to play.
Exactly.
At least.
Exactly.
20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. I mean, even had a block, which is unheard of for a shooting guard. But Jonas Valanciunas had a better series than Brandon Ingram did. What does that tell you?
And Valanciunas is a free agent this offseason. That's the guy that they may lose. I mean, the Pelicans have a lot of questions to answer. Do you decide to just go the young route, hold on to Herbert Jones, hold on to
Dyson I like him, by the way.
Hold on to Trey Murphy, and try to trade Zion maybe and get as big of a package as you can for him. And I mean, you may be stuck with Ingram and McCollum. You're probably going to be stuck with Ingram for another year. I don't think anybody's taking on that $36 million he's owed next year, especially after that playoffs. And same with McCollum. Maybe you could package McCollum somewhere, but do you decide, like, let's start moving in a rebuild mode? Because they do have some decent young players that they could start building around. Trey Murphy and Herbert Jones turned on late in this season, and they've become pretty solid NBA players. Dyson Daniels become a good one. Jordan Hawkins had a solid rookie season. I think he's going to keep getting better as he gets older. So I think that they have the option to try to go the young route as well.
So I looked up their payroll just because I'm curious. I was doing this for a couple teams. One is the Pelicans, and another one we'll talk about in a little bit, the Suns, which is a whole nother situation. So the number for the salary cap for 23-24 was $136 million. They were 162 million. So they are, doing quick math in my head, 26 million over the cap.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, they got some big contracts. They'll free up some money from Valanciunas, who will come off the books.
Why would they get rid of him though? He looks so good there.
He's a free agent, unrestricted free agent.
Oh, that's right. But look at these numbers though for the top three guys. McCollum 35, almost 36. Zion Williamson a little over 34. Brandon Ingram almost 34.
Yep.
Now, I'm just trying to do quick math. That's 69. It's $100 million for those three players.
Yep.
That's insane.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And Zion's worth it if he's playing. But McCollum and Ingram are not worth it. Ingram is not worth the 34, 36 million that he's going to be due next season. And they're going to be stuck with him after giving him that contract too.
I mean, is it tradable? I feel like he is tradable in some aspect because someone will take a chance knowing that he's a prolific scorer.
Yeah.
So
he could be to the right team. He could be. It'll make things interesting. I mean, he's only got 1 year left. So a team who has I think that's maybe looking to compete a little bit and wants to take on like a what if and has the salary space to take on $36 million for next year. It wouldn't be a terrible situation because worst comes to worst, he's a free agent after next year.
So you get the expiring contract.
Yeah, exactly. He's got an expiring contract. So worst comes to worst, you eat the 36 for the season and you just let him walk when he becomes a free agent.
Well, I could give you a team, but I know they definitely will not have the space, which is the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, the Warriors are going to be interesting because if they let Klay Thompson go, they may have some money to kind of spend elsewhere. I mean, I would assume that they probably have to extend Jonathan Kuminga. They're going to have to make a decision on Kuminga this summer. If
they gotta bring him back.
He's only got 1 year left and he's a restricted free agent, so he'll be eligible for the rookie max extension. So they got to make a decision. Do you
know what the number is?
The rookie extension is usually like not the full rookie max where like Halliburton and LaMelo Ball got, but like a rookie extension. I mean, for him could be like maybe like 100 mil or something like that over like four years, maybe a little bit less. Depends how much they want to offer him, and depends if he would accept it or if he wants to play on that and then try to get more as a free agent the next year. But
I mean, Ingram, I feel like Ingram's and we'll move on to other teams in a second because the Pelicans are out. But I feel like Ingram's in a situation where he needs a change of scenery. Like it's just not working. It's not working in New Orleans. The franchise is, I don't know, like in volcanic eruption mode right now. Like they don't know which direction to go. Do they blow it up? Do they not blow it up?
Yeah.
By the way, Herbert Jones is one of my favorite players on that team. Like he doesn't get enough credit for the amount of stuff that he does on the floor. And he kind of gets the blame unceremoniously when the team stinks. Not Brandon Ingram, not CJ McCollum. But I don't know. That's just kind of an unfortunate situation. But the Thunder did what they were supposed to do. They came in and swept a bad team.
Yeah.
They had to. And SGA had a really good series.
Fantastic series.
I mean, how is this guy not the MVP?
Right? It's. I think it might be closer than a lot of people think. It's going to be either him or Jokic. But a lot of people are leaning towards Jokic. Jokic had another fantastic year this year, but
he did.
It's tough not to give it to Shai, especially bringing that OKC team to a 1 seed.
What about the streak?
The streak, exactly. Like his scoring prowess is just amazing. It's going to be tough not to give Shai the MVP.
But of course, the media does what the media does, and they usually go with the surefire person instead of maybe giving it to a young star who probably deserved it. And if I'm not mistaken, his 30-point streak, I think, was 48 games.
I think so, something like that. I mean, if we're being honest, if we're being completely honest, Jokic probably should have won it last year instead of Embiid for his third straight year, and then Shai should have won it this year.
Embiid, and we'll get to Embiid in a few minutes because that guy doesn't deserve shit, to be honest, the way he acts. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad that he got the Bell's palsy. That's a tough facial weakening disease to deal with. But he's done a whole heck of a lot of other things on the court, which has gotten himself in trouble and not in a good light. But you're right. I think Jokic should have gotten it, not Embiid. And that's why they put that stupid rule in place with the amount of games to win the MVP. It's all because Embiid missed a third of the season, and the voters still gave it to him because of what he did in the first half of the year.
Exactly.
But I don't know. So the Thunder win. The series that I didn't anticipate being a good one and is a good one now is Clippers Mavs.
Yep. That's a really good one. And the Mavs have shown a lot. They're going to be a tough team. And when they were up 2-1, I was like, okay, I think the Mavs are going to put the series away. I think they're going to win, make it a 3-1 series. And the Clippers came back and won without Kawhi. This has the making to be a 7-game series. I really feel like that. It's going to get pushed to 7 games somehow. I feel like the Mavericks are the better team in my opinion, especially without Kawhi Leonard on the floor for the Clippers. But it's been a fun series, honestly, because it's been a lot of back and forths. It's been starting to get really gritty too. We're starting to see some of the playoff energy. With some shoving and all that kind of stuff with Luka and, getting into guys' faces. So you love to see that when it comes to playoff time.
So 2 things here. One, I'm angry at Kawhi because he did the unthinkable for the first time in, I think, 6 or 7 years. He played the most amount of games he's played since dealing with all these injuries. Yep. Now he can't stay on the damn court at all. And what is the injury again? It's a leg injury, or
I think it's some type of leg injury. Yeah,
that's like a hamstring injury in baseball. If you never know, it's day to day. But the amount of load management that he's known for, this should not be happening, in my opinion. Now, I get it. If you can't walk, that's a whole different issue. But he doesn't even attempt to play. Hey, guys, it's the playoffs. I need to be out there.
I know. It's like, it makes you wonder if the Clippers were to advance in this series, can they even compete with the Thunder? Because you're not going to be able to count Kawhi Leonard into it because he has knee inflammation. It came to me afterwards. And he always has those knee issues. He tore his ACL and he went through so much rehab and he's always got knee issues. And now he played an entire season for the first time in forever, since the first time he was on the Spurs, pretty much. He played an entire season, and come playoff time, he's got more knee inflammation. So it's difficult to count on him for the rest of the playoffs. And then the Clippers are going to be an interesting situation too, where they're going to have to figure out their future.
Right. And I like Luka, but Luka needs to stop drawing with the referees.
Yeah.
Number one, because he wonders why he doesn't get a call anymore, because the NBA has basically told the refs, hey, Luka's going to do this. He's just going to jaw the refs nonstop. So what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to call anything.
Exactly.
So
doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
Right. And by the way, I have to give James Harden a lot of credit. He's actually having a pretty good series.
Absolutely.
The one situation I want to talk about, and from what happened the other night in that series, was the whole Russell Westbrook situation. And I can't remember. So he got, what did he end up getting? He got a flagrant? I can't remember.
Yeah, he ended up getting a flagrant.
And a hostile act.
And I think he got ejected or something.
He did get ejected. Well, he already had, I think,
he already had a flagrant. Yeah, he already had a technical. I think he got a second technical, so he was ejected.
Actually, he got a second technical and he got a flagrant.
Yeah. And honestly, it was very, it was a heat of the moment thing, but you can't. Westbrook is too much of a veteran to not know any better. He's got to know that he needs to tune it down a little bit. You can't be doing that come playoff time.
I think he's a little dirty too.
He is. He's got like that grit, and I think he's just pissed with the amount of jokes have been made of him over the last couple of years, basically.
Right, but you really think attacking Luka was the way to go?
No, like, I don't think that at all. I'm just saying that I think that is fueling a lot of his stuff. I think that's fueling like his beef that he has with guys who are sitting in the like courtside. He has like he tries to kick every season he tries to kick a handful of the people out, and he starts going back and forth and saying things to them. Like he's a future Hall of Famer. He shouldn't even be thinking about responding to what hecklers are saying.
He needs a title. That's kind of hurting his resume right now. And unfortunately, the Clippers are that team that just are unfortunately like the 76ers, which everyone says, oh, they're going to win a title. Eventually they'll win a title. And then they get eliminated in the second round. And people are like, well, you're a disappointment. Well, yeah, you are a disappointment.
Yeah, you look at the exact same. The Clippers and Sixers, like you look at their teams on paper before the season starts, and you're like, wow, I could see them winning the championship this year. But you say that every single year, and they never end up doing anything. They always get eliminated first or second round. So when do you decide, like, okay, they look good on paper, but it doesn't work?
True, and I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're just like, all right, we got to move on. Like it's enough already.
Yeah.
But another team, another series, we'll try to move through some of these a little bit quicker. But Timberwolves Suns was fascinating, even though it was a sweep. And Ant-Man totally owned that series, including Game 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that showed a lot about the Timberwolves too. I think the entire NBA fan base was a little bit skeptical on the Timberwolves heading into the playoffs. They had a fantastic regular season. They very narrowly missed out on being the 1 seed in the Western Conference. They were sitting at the 1 seed for a while too. Anthony Edwards had a fantastic year, became like a top 10 player in the NBA this season, but everyone wanted to see what they did in the playoffs, and they just came out and they completely annihilated the Suns, completely destroyed them, swept them in 4 games, which I don't think anybody saw coming. I mean, a lot of people predicted the Suns would win that series.
I mean, it was a complete embarrassment by the Suns. I think they averaged under 100 points for all 4 games. I think it was 99. It was right under. But still, how are you not averaging 100 points with that big 3? And looking at Durant, Beal, and Booker, and I don't know if you saw the clip the other day that we put out on the YouTube channel of Bradley Beal coming off the court and completely dissing. What's the head coach's name again?
Their head coach Frank Vogel,
who I happen to like, by the way. I think he gets a bad rap.
I like him too. I think that he's actually a decent coach.
But like, I'm sure you saw that Bradley Beal completely dissed Vogel going off the court, which to me that sums up the whole situation going on with the Suns. Bradley Beal is a joke, in my opinion, who can't stay healthy and stay on the court. Kevin Durant. I've made my feelings known about Kevin Durant. I don't know if you're the same way, but Kevin Durant can't be a leader at all. Like, Durant is a follower, not a leader. And I always believed when he went to Golden State, that was always Steph Curry's team. That's the reason why they won the titles. Kevin Durant was a great scorer and facilitator and helped with that team to win, but it was always Steph Curry's team to lead.
Yeah.
So who was the leader on this Suns team? They had a big 3 with no leader.
Exactly. I completely agree. I think that this experiment didn't work. And Kevin Durant even came out and said after the series that he didn't feel comfortable the entire season. He felt like the Suns didn't utilize him with Booker and Beal. He didn't have the ball in his hands enough, all that kind of stuff, which goes to show you the amount of like whining that Durant does nonstop whenever they lose. But
it's annoying though. Like, just go out there and play. Like, stop with the nonsense and the ego. And to be honest, like, and Brian Windhorst from ESPN summed this up well, and I agree with it. if Kevin Durant didn't go on NBA Twitter and worry about his ego so much, he'd probably still be in Golden State winning titles.
Yep. I'll tell you what. A lot like you can have whatever feelings you want about James Harden. And definitely some of the things that the way that he went about with some stuff was definitely not on the right. But a lot of these star players should need to take a page out of James Harden's book of what he's done this past year with the Clippers. He's looking to win a championship, just like all these other guys who have never won a championship are. And instead of complaining and being like, okay, I'm the guy, the ball needs to be in my hands, like Durant is doing, basically saying the ball wasn't in my hands enough, all that kind of stuff when he's got two other all-stars on his team. James Harden took a bench spot, took a point guard spot as the main passer and the third scoring option. And where throughout his entire career, he was the number one scoring option. And it didn't work out, and it never resulted in him winning a championship. Now he took kind of a backseat. You haven't heard a word from him this season about complaining about his role, that kind of stuff. And he ended up he's had a great year for the Clippers.
Dare I say he humbled up a little?
He humbled up. That's exactly it. That's what, obviously, like, I'm not in that locker room, so I could be, so, he might be saying,
you don't know what any of those guys are doing in there, but
exactly. But I think that, like, the way that he did it, and he's trying to just do whatever he can to win a championship is what guys need to start doing.
And just looking at those numbers, because I have that payroll up here, because I was stunned at the amount of money those three take up.
Yep.
So Durant is a little over 47 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Beal is almost 47 million. So that's 94 million between two players right there. And then you have 36 million for Booker. So what are we talking about? Close to 140 million almost between three players? That's insane.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
That's over the cap.
Yep.
For three guys.
And they're all and Durant and Beal both have 2 more years left on their contracts. And Devin Booker's got 4 years left on his contract.
Well, I don't know if you heard the mindless speculation going around with Devin Booker. Well, there's a certain somebody who won't keep their mouth shut.
Yeah.
I think I have him somewhere here. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find him at the moment. But a certain SAS initials has been a little busy on First Take and all that nonsense. And he's reporting, Stephen A. Smith, who I'm talking about, is saying that Devin Booker wants to go to the Knicks.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, we talked about before the show, behind the scenes a little, about being connected and plugged in with the correct sources, which that'll come up a little bit later. But he might know some stuff that we don't know. So he could be right. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like a good fit.
It doesn't seem like it makes too much sense because we have to wait. We can't do anything yet. We have to wait and see how deep the Knicks make it in this year's playoffs too and stuff. And I don't think that breaking up the core and stuff like that is a good call at all. Even if it's for Devin Booker. Like I saw the report was they'll trade anything besides Brunson. I don't think that's a good idea.
That's terrible. That is the worst rumor speculation I've ever heard. Why the heck would you break this team up now the way they're playing?
They're playing fantastic, and they're also beginning to prove to you that if they're fully healthy, they could arguably make it to the NBA Finals. They aren't even fully healthy right now, and they might make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Imagine if they had Julius Randle.
Exactly. If they had Julius Randle and they had Bogdanovich, who's now out for the year as well, they could easily make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's true. It's a good point. But just the full number, because I said right off the bat, 140 million is going to those three guys. That's insane. Yep. I don't think we've ever, not even in the Miami days, was it that much money. I don't think.
No, it wasn't.
So their total number, now hold your breath on this one because this is a big number. $190.4 million on their cap.
That's
They
crazy.
are 40, or is it 50? $54 million over the cap. Think about that.
I know. They have no room but to sign, and they just gave Grayson Allen the extension too. So,
And actually, because of the new rules, they don't have the mid-level exception.
Yep.
Which I don't. Why don't they have that again?
I'm not exactly sure.
I think it has to do with the amount of money they spent.
Yeah, I think because of how far over the cap they are, you lose out on some stuff. Like, they don't want these teams. They want to kind of penalize these teams a little bit for going that far over the cap.
I mean, so and I'm looking at what's committed. They already have more committed on the cap next year than this year.
Yeah,
they have an extra 300,000 committed already. 190.6 million is already committed for next year.
Yep.
You're stuck.
That's a crazy number to have committed for an upcoming season. No, they're absolutely stuck.
You can't do anything.
This core that the Suns put together is under contract for the next several years, and they're on big contracts, and a lot of them are going to be difficult to trade. They're stuck. They're going to have to win with. They went all in and trade all their first round picks for this core. They're going to have to try to figure out a way to win with this core, and I don't know if it can be done.
They don't have a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken, until 2030.
Yeah, I know.
Which is insane.
They trade like everything pretty much.
So what happens? Because we all know at one point this team is going to implode and they're going to finish towards the bottom. That means they're not going to have a first round pick.
They're going to have to go through years. They're going to have to go through years at the bottom of the NBA to when they're starting to rebuild. But the question is, can they win a championship before that to make that better?
I just don't see it because, again, even though I keep going back to comparing it to the Miami years with LeBron, they had guys like Mike Miller and Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis, like guys that they signed to the mid-level exception level.
Exactly.
So you had veteran guys around that core of Bosh and LeBron and Wade that wanted that role because they wanted to win a title.
Yep.
You don't have anybody on this Suns roster that is hungry, at least right now, to win a title.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm looking at this roster. Like, Eric Gordon is probably the only one because he's been the journeyman guy. But look at the rest of this roster. Josh Ogie, David Rhodey, Damian Lee, Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks actually had a good series.
Yeah.
People kind of forgot about him. Bol, Thaddeus Young. Like, these are all names that you forget.
Yep.
So, and Durant, by the way, is committed to almost $52 million next year.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy.
You can't trade that.
No, you can't trade that at all.
And here's the numbers committed for next year. Durant, almost 52. Beal, over 50. And Devin Booker, almost 50. So $150 million is almost committed next year on those three guys. So are they going to do what the Warriors basically did, which is they basically took a deep dive into the penalty to win?
That's what they're going to have to do.
That's what they did, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Basically, yeah. That's what the Warriors
took like a huge deep dive into the penalty.
I mean, they were paying four guys like max steals when they had Durant there, so they took a huge dive into it, and
it paid off. They won three titles.
They won twice with Durant, and
Curry got the last word winning a title without Durant for sure.
Curry won 2 without Durant. He won the
2 without Durant.
Yeah,
that's right.
So they've won 4 titles, so it makes up for any bad contracts they've ever had. But
I'm saying in general, I think Curry is happy. He got the last word generally on that last title without Durant.
Oh, absolutely. That was a legacy defining championship 2 years ago that Curry had. And
they weren't supposed to win.
They weren't supposed to win at all. No.
So that made it even better. All right, we got to move a little quicker. Nuggets, Lakers. There's not really much to say. The Lakers somehow stole a game, which they shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
That last game was exciting, though.
It was, and the Nuggets dominated them. We expected that was going to happen. I mean, they dominated them in the Western Conference Finals last year too. They're just a better team.
Yeah, and obviously all the questions with LeBron. I'll leave the LeBron stuff when we're done getting through all the playoffs. Eastern Conference side, Miami's playing way better than the series record shows. I
Yeah,
feel like, even
yep.
though they're down 3-1, I feel like this could have been a series. Actually,
I completely agree. I think that Miami has done well without Jimmy Butler. Um, you know, they've done the best that they could.
Bam's a beast.
Still in game two was big, and Bam is turning into a star player. I mean, if you've never like knew how good of a player he was, he's showing it in this series right here. I mean, like he's put the team on his back. He's a fantastic number two, and he's proving that he could probably be a number one for a very good team too.
Oh, I think he's climbed to like a 1B. I won't say like he's a 1, but I'll say he's like a 1B.
I completely agree with that. I think that Jimmy Butler's still their 1A, but Bam is a very, very good 1B. I mean, 25 points, 17 rebounds last night.
This guy's like, I knew he was a rebound beast already, but I didn't realize he could score at the clip he could score.
He's become a great scorer. He's developed a 3-point shot this season too, which he never had throughout his career. And he's a great passer too. I mean, I think he averaged 4 or 5 assists a game this season.
And he's had quite a few 7-8 assist games too.
Yeah, he had 5 assists last night. He's a great rim protector too. He didn't have any blocks last night, but he normally is. He's just turned into a very good player.
I mean, I think this series eventually is going to be over. The Celtics will win this, but I give credit to Miami as an 8 seed, at least fighting and winning a game.
Hopefully they win one more, maybe push it to 6, just to put a little pressure on the Celtics.
I do think, though, the flagrant BS call on Bam was ridiculous, by the way. And we've seen quite a few of those, by the way, that the refs are going into Secaucus in the replay center, and the replay center is deeming stuff hostile acts and flagrant fouls. I don't know. Has the NBA gotten soft?
Oh, absolutely. They created a definition of a flagrant foul, and they stick to it. And now the fact that they can review a flagrant foul makes it even worse because they have to go back to the definition. It definitely has gotten softer, but
it's bad.
Like, yeah.
Obviously, Cavs Magic. This series is kind of blah, to be honest. Each team, I think, is 1-1 on the road's opposing floor, I think. So, like, the Cavs should have won this series already, in my opinion.
They should have. And there's just something up with them. They did not look good. They started off good, but they just did not look good the second half of the season. And there's something up with them just, like, not being able to kind of pull away. They should have been able to take care of the Magic. They have too much playoff experience against a team who has 0 playoff experience to not win this series.
Literally 0.
Literally 0 experience. Joe Ingles is one of the only guys who's even played in a playoff game on the Magic team. The vast majority of them, this is their first ever time in the playoffs. And the Cavs, the entire team has been in the playoffs and deep in the playoffs the last several years. So
there's really no excuses, is what you're saying.
Exactly. There's no excuse.
Now, Jared Allen was hurt also in the last game. That was their rim protector.
Yep.
But otherwise, they should have won the game. I mean, I think that's really it. There's not much to really analyze except Bencaro. His shot looks awkward. I was talking to Zan about this the other day. Like, his foot is like a kick out before he shoots. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He's got a little bit of an interesting jumper. I think it's the first time in the playoffs nerves that are kind of getting to him a little bit because he's looked a little bit up and down throughout the series. I mean, he hasn't had a terrible series, but the entire Magic team it's been weird. I mean, like, they're down 3-2, so they've lost 3 games, but the 2 games they won were blowouts. They won both games by almost 40 points.
Which is insane considering the amount of star power Cleveland has.
It's been an absolutely weird series between these two.
And then I left the last 2 for the good ones for last, really.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked that the Bucks blew out the Pacers in Game 5. That kind of shocked me. I thought the series was over with Dame and Giannis being out. Who knows if they're going to see the court again, period, in this series.
And I think the series is going to be over in Game 6 because it's going back to Indiana. Lillard and Giannis probably both won't play in Game 6. So I think that, I don't think the Bucks have much of a chance to come back. If Giannis and or Lillard were able to come back, I would give them a chance to win the next two and
different
come back
game.
To a deficit. Yeah. It's a completely different series, but without those two, I don't see the Pacers blowing this.
All right. And then obviously for last, the Knicks and the Sixers. The Knicks kind of reverted back to the old Knicks.
Yeah.
Losing that game, going to overtime. Jalen Brunson had an incredible game. Tyrese Maxey had an incredible game. There was a lot of weird moments. Tyrese Maxey missed 3 straight free throws at one point down the stretch, which is uncharacteristic considering I think he's close to a 90% free throw shooter.
Yeah, he was 18 for 18 in the series before missing those 3 from the free throw line. That was the name of the game was missing free throws. Both teams missed a ton of free throws.
The whole playoffs have missed a ton of free throws.
It's crazy. I know the Knicks. They definitely blew that one. That was one that they had to have. I don't
think the series is over now, though.
You don't think it's over?
I don't think it's over now.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. I mean, they're going back to Philly tomorrow for Game 6, and then if Philly ends up winning that, we have a tied series going back to the Garden for Game 7. So the series is definitely not over. I think,
and as they say, anything goes. Game 7.
Goes. I think that Embiid was completely immobilized.
He looks gassed.
He was completely gassed. I think that knee is killing him right now. He had 9 turnovers in the game. He kept making terrible passes. He just couldn't move too. Mitchell Robinson was just locking him up. He wasn't able to move at all. And Tyrese Maxey is the one that won the game for them. He put the team on his back. That huge 3-pointer was insane. I mean, the Knicks had the game won with 20 seconds left, and then the dumb foul on Maxey to make the 4-point play, and then he came down and hit the 3 from the logo. It was absolutely crazy.
That guy's a beast. He can't be stopped.
He is. He's turned into an absolute stud. But it's heading back to Philly for Game 6. I still have confidence for the Knicks. They just have to tighten things up a little bit. They made a lot of mental mistakes towards the end of the game that ended up costing them, and that's the playoffs.
And Josh Hart missing the free throw down the stretch also didn't help it.
I mean, Brunson missed a few free throws. There was a lot of
the Jalen Brunson in between moment when he was going to shoot the 3 and threw it out of bounds. But that one is tough because he figured it out in the last moment. Oh shit, I shouldn't have shot that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in between. What do I do?
It's tough because he was looking for a 3 and he was just very well defended. He wasn't going to be able to get the 3 off. And it was a mental mistake. There was a lot of mental mistakes on the Knicks' part. Mitchell Robinson fouling Maxey on the 3-pointer to make it a 4-point play was
I got to tip my hat to Maxey a little bit on that play, though.
Oh, and Maxey played fantastic the last couple of minutes and then or during overtime. He won the game for them. I mean, if he wasn't out there, they would have lost the game by 30 with the way that the Sixers played.
I mean, 46 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. Embiid had a triple-double, by the way. 19 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists. For a big man, and a triple-double is tough.
Which you wouldn't expect. He almost had a quadruple-double with turnovers. He had 9
He was
turnovers.
one away. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at a quadruple-double, but
definitely a bad thing.
But just the Jalen Brunson, which, by the way, this shocked me at the plus-minus that he had. Did you know Jalen Brunson was -9 in this game?
I didn't realize that.
40 points. He scored 40 points. So he had 40 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and he was still -9. I can't figure that one out.
Yeah.
But no one else really contributed. I mean, OG had a okay game, 17.6 rebounds. He missed free throws down the stretch.
He did too. I mean, I mean, Hart had a pretty solid game. DiVincenzo hit a couple of threes, but he didn't do a whole lot.
He kind of lost in the equation down the stretch.
Yeah. Like the last couple of games, he hasn't been as big.
But just to get to the Embiid point, because you were bringing that up before, Embiid had a dirty play too, which I think they called, didn't they, on him, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, they called a flagrant on him for smacking Brunson in the face, which, like, he wasn't, I don't think he intended to smack him in the face. I think he was trying to go for the ball, but it was a wind-up, and it made contact with the face and wasn't near the ball. So
I do remember screaming about it because I think the Secaucus might have overreacted to it a little bit.
But the problem is since they get to go back and review that, by definition, that's a flagrant foul. So they have to call it a flagrant foul.
So done with that rule.
Which is like, but most basketball, it would just be a normal foul.
They called Bam for knocking Jason Tatum over, because he took a shot. And Stan Van Gundy, I don't know if you heard the broadcast or not, but Stan Van Gundy said after the game, during the play after it happened, you really think you're going to allow a guy to get into rhythm after the play is over, let him put up another shot? No.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't have a problem with what Bam did, to be honest.
Not at all.
But Secaucus, and the replay officials apparently have a problem with flagrants. I don't even know, was flagrant even a rule in the 90s? I don't think that ever existed.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think there was anything such. I think that came into existence the last 15 years, a flagrant foul.
But we'll get to round 2. You're going to do it on 3&D next week, and we'll do it here. I want to get to a very funny rumor that came out also, which you and I were laughing about even earlier in the day. So this came up. So for people who can't see the screen, if they're listening on the audio side, LeBron to Philly?
That just doesn't make any sense in my opinion. I know we talked about it before the show and stuff. It came from a source that is not reliable at all. Nowadays on Twitter, you can't. You have to do your research on whoever's reporting something because there's so many fakes out there. So this is definitely not like a real rumor, but even just like thinking about it, doesn't make any sense.
There was so many red flags when you and I read through this thing, and we'll go through this quick. So it says LeBron James to the Philadelphia 76ers is, quote, going to happen per sources. Now, I told you before, in the NBA world, there's 2 guys that are only allowed to say per sources.
Yep.
And those 2 are?
Shams and Woj.
Okay. Those guys are the most plugged in NBA insiders there are. So they're the only ones that are allowed to say according to sources. Because 99.9% of the time, they're going to be right.
Yep. They're the only ones that, if there's breaking news, that you should really trust. And you also have to be wary about those 2 because there's a lot of fake Shams and Woj accounts too. You got to make sure that it's the correct ones. Make sure you look at how many followers they have, and make sure you check the
handle. The handle's always the funny one. Always.
The handle's because it's always something like stupid, like with the fake ones.
You could pretty much tell by the follower count. Like Woj and Shams both have over 1 million followers.
Yeah. And no fake account's going to have over 1 million followers.
Well, that's not always the case. Parody accounts, some do, but you're right for the most point.
But ones that are impersonating a specific person.
Oh yeah. So breaking this down, it says Bronny just met with Mike Nardi, and by the way, I'm going to give the name because I really don't care because she deserves to be destroyed for putting this out there. So her name is Shonda Brown, and her Twitter profile says sports journalist, Philly sports plus NBA, NFL, and MLB. So that tells me nothing at all. It tells me nothing. So then it goes on to say, Bronny just met with Mike Nardi. Now, you can fill in some of this college basketball stuff because you know it better than me. So tell everybody who Mike Nardi is.
College basketball analyst.
Okay. And it says AC of Villanova. Okay. To discuss playing another year of college basketball. James wants to, quote, keep the family close.
Yeah.
Since when did I don't think LeBron said anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that obviously never happened, and like I'm too big of a fan, and I follow all of the real like big time college basketball analysts and stuff like that. That would have came out from somebody else if that actually had happened. Bronny's not making any. Bronny's not currently looking at any schools right now. He's getting ready for the NBA draft. He's in the transfer portal. If he were to decide to go back to school and withdraw from the NBA draft, then I think he would look at other schools to go to. But I don't think he's focused on that at all right now. I think that he's focused on staying in the draft.
He's going to the NBA. Let's just call a spade a spade.
I honestly think he's probably going to go to the NBA, and I think somebody's going to reach for him in the second round just because of the name. And I don't think he's NBA ready yet.
After the game on Bleacher Report, and I put it out on our ETB Sports account, the Lakers came out and said apparently that they're willing to reach to bring him back, which is kind of stupid if you ask me.
I would not be surprised at all. I don't know what second round picks that they have, but I could see them taking him with like an early pick or something to ensure that they have him and to ensure that LeBron kind of stays put.
So let's go back to the Shonda Brown reporting, because this just all makes me laugh. So there was that part that she claims that LeBron wants to keep the family together. No one has said that. Then she goes on to say a source. We're back to this term again. A source inside the program. So now we're quoting Villanova without any true sourcing coming out, saying that a source inside the program has informed me, meaning her, that Bronny James has met with both Mike Nardi and then Kyle Neptune. I don't know who that is. Do you know who that is or no?
He's the head coach of Villanova.
Okay. About a continuation of his college career with the Villanova Wildcats to further his development in 2024-2025. Yeah. Now, call me crazy. I've heard this much about that.
No, makes no sense for him to go like that these rumors are coming out with Villanova. There's plenty of other guys that I have notifications on for that would have broken this story if it was actually true. So it just goes to show you.
It just doesn't add up. Like, what? No. First of all, I feel like he would go somewhere on the West Coast before he would come back east.
I mean, that was part of the reason why he went to USC. It was because he wanted to stay close to home. Like, I don't think that he'd go all the way to Philadelphia to go to school.
That makes no sense. Then the final one. With Tobias Harris's contract coming off the books this summer, the Sixers are expected to make a strong push to sign LeBron James to a 2-year deal with a player option in year 2. Now, the face you made before we started doing this, and me, who was so confused by this, why? Why would they give him a 2-year deal if we already know he's not going to Philly?
Yeah, he's not going to Philly. And I think it's funny how it says with Tobias Harris's contract coming off the books, acting like Tobias Harris's contract would free up enough money to give LeBron $50 million a year. Like, what was Tobias Harris making? 25? Like, he's probably making half of the contract that they would give LeBron. Like, that doesn't equal each other. So
okay, so actually, this is a lot closer than I thought.
How much Tobias is making?
Yeah. What did LeBron make this season? I think he made 50.
He made right around 50. I think probably like high 40s.
Okay, so it's still not enough, but Tobias Harris made $39.2 million this season.
See, I'll tell you what, with all these crazy contracts that go around, it's tough to keep track of what everybody's getting paid.
But that shocked me.
I know. Actually, yeah, like I'm looking at it, LeBron made 47.6.
Oh wow, so it's even closer.
No, I take that back. That might be able to free up enough money to give
but it's still crazy though.
Yeah.
Like to say that Tobias Harris's contract is affecting whether LeBron goes to Philly. Are we kidding?
I know. It's nuts.
And another pet peeve from me, working in radio and media for 4 years in New York market. If you're not a known person, you don't get the right to say a source told me at all. I produced in political talk radio for 4 years, and I used to tell my host, you need to give me 3 legitimate sources before you're allowed to run with the story. To be honest, call me crazy. There are zero sources in this story.
No, there's not a single source. It's definitely a made-up account for sure.
But and I'm looking at and this is going to drive you crazy. It's going to drive me crazy too. 583,000 views on this tweet.
Yep. So and think about the amount of people that are falling for it right now, and are probably telling their friends, "Oh, I saw it on Twitter today."
Oh my God, LeBron's going to Philly.
Yep. The amount of people that probably fell for it is crazy. You can't trust Twitter anymore.
And this is what frustrates me. You and I work in the media business.
Yep.
And
exactly. And it's just a lie.
And people are falling for it.
I know. It's so
This
bad.
person deserves to have their account banned and shut off. Because if you're going to lie and make up sources saying that someone informed you that Bronny James is first going to Villanova.
Yeah.
And just think about the logistical issues with that statement.
It just doesn't make any sense. Exactly.
He was in USC. I feel like, what was the college you mentioned on the 3&D that you said maybe he should look at?
I think Duquesne.
Yeah.
About, because that's on the East Coast as well, but the only reason why I said that was because LeBron's former high school coach is their head coach.
Okay, but at least there's a connection.
Exactly. They have an actual connection. There's no connection to Villanova.
So that's why when you and I, from a broadcasting and media standpoint, tell you, watch the sources you check.
Exactly.
Because you get dumb people like this who go on here and say they know the answer. So that's just a caution tale, as they say, word to the wise, check your sources. I wanted to address something else on the business side. You and I are fascinated with this a little bit. Mm-hmm. So could Inside the NBA be moving to Amazon or NBC and next NBA broadcast package? Now, let's back up a second. Why am I bringing this up? Because the NBA on TNT could be the odd man out.
Yep. No, absolutely. And anytime one of these big time sports is somebody's rights contract is expiring, you're going to get a lot of rumors about other networks coming in. But apparently Amazon and NBC are very, very strong. Obviously, NBC used to be the main stakeholder in the NBA back in the 90s. NBA on NBC was a big thing. They're trying to bring that back. Amazon, too, is playing hardball, grabbing Thursday Night Football. They're really trying to make a sports streaming service.
Amazon actually has the framework of a deal with the NBA.
Yeah, I saw that. They're most likely going to land some type of deal. I don't know how many games they're going to get, but they're most likely going to get that. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not happy about it, though, because I don't know, call me crazy. I like to watch stuff on TV. I don't want to have to switch between all the streams and all this stuff. And now, Amazon's taking over the world when it comes to sports.
They are. They're taking over the world in everything, pretty much. Amazon is going to be running this country in 20 years. They do everything now.
But here's the problem. So if you're going to put everything on streaming, and Zan made a good point on his show Bando's Breakdowns when I was helping with that what about the older people who don't understand it?
That's the big debate, is that the older people don't like it and they're not going to buy the streaming services and all that kind of stuff. But just I don't necessarily agree with it. I am just like you. I like to be able to flip through the channels, watch things on TV, all that kind of stuff. We grew up doing that. We didn't grow up with all these streaming services and stuff. But the kids who are 5 years old right now and in 20 years are going to be
not going to know
stuff. They're going to be growing up with, I had Amazon Prime. I had to watch Thursday Night Football. Then I had to, go to Peacock to watch Sunday Night Football, all that kind of stuff, because that's just the way of the world. Because for multiple reasons. One, they're trying to get rid of cable. Cable is becoming obsolete. And two, there's more money to be made through these apps for these companies than there is just showing them on cable. If you can strictly put these sports onto your streaming services, people are going to be forced to buy subscriptions, and you're going to make a lot more money than you do with cable. So it's all a money thing. It's all
frustrating, though,
because
it's
so frustrating.
You're forced now If you want to watch something,
to buy so many subscriptions, exactly.
And the rumor that we've heard for years, more on the NFL side, could the Super Bowl one day end up behind a paywall? And I'll tell you right now, over the dead body of hundreds of millions of people, I don't think it'll ever end up behind a paywall.
I'll tell you what, that would be the last thing that gets added to streaming service, only streaming services.
Their numbers would tank.
It would be a long, long time before the Super Bowl is strictly on a streaming service. They would not do that. Maybe 50 years from now, or 40 years from now, whenever it is, when cable is pretty much almost completely gone, then they would make that move. But that would be the last thing, the very last thing that they would add back, because the amount of uproar it would cause and the amount of craziness, like they would wait to add like the NBA championship and the Super Bowl and the in the World Series and all that kind of stuff to strictly streaming services.
I just think that's a mistake, putting the finals of the World Series or Super Bowl, or like they're gonna tank their audience. Like, because the Super Bowl gets what, like hundreds of millions of people.
Absolutely, everybody. I mean, everybody in the country watches it, and people
in the world,
and people all over the world watch it. I mean, it's almost every TV in America is tuned into the Super Bowl every single year, whether you care about football or not, because it's just an iconic event.
Right. But let's get to the actual crux of this, which is, could the Inside the NBA move to Amazon or NBC in next package? Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that happened. When these networks kind of change, when these sports change networks and stuff, a lot of times the announcers just jump to the network that it's joining. So I wouldn't be surprised if Turner Sports loses the NBA, if Inside the NBA goes to NBC or to Amazon, because Turner isn't covering the NBA anymore. Like, those kinds of things happen all the time. Or NBC creates their own little Inside the NBA thing or something like that. Maybe Shaq doesn't want to be involved, or they have to break up the team a little bit and they have to add like a couple of other guys. But it might be some form of it.
So I'm reading. So it says predictions out there say that Inside the NBA, the Turner Studios show that everybody loves, will not exclusively air. This is a prediction, not exclusively air on TNT after the 2024-25 season. It's either going to be on Amazon or it's going to be on TNT and another one of those outlets, Amazon or NBC. Mm-hmm. We've seen that before with NBC on the football side.
Exactly. Those studio shows always jump ship sometimes because they follow the sport rather than the network, because they want to please their audiences, obviously. Like, people like NBA fans are not really going to care if they have to turn into channel 2 or channel 30, whatever, to watch their game. They're going to care if they can see Shaq and all those guys on the panel, and as long as the game is covered like pretty decently, that's all they're going to care about.
Yeah, they want to see Ernie, Charles, Shaq, and Kenny. I mean, that's
exactly. And if it's them with, exactly, if it's them with the NBC logo or it's them with the Turner logo
or the Amazon logo,
or the Amazon logo, fans aren't going to care.
It's a show. Like, it's become so valuable that people don't even look at it on which network anymore. Like, when you look at the NFL on CBS, it's labeled as a CBS pregame show.
Yep.
The Inside the NBA is not really labeled as a TNT product. It's just where the content is housed.
Exactly.
So, and I'm reading here that apparently Warner Brothers Discovery, they re-signed all the guys, but they did have opt-out if they lost the NBA rights.
Yeah, and I feel like, and some of those guys, I feel like they wouldn't be able to keep the full panel together because I feel like they'd have to switch locations and stuff. I mean, they do the show out of Atlanta. If NBC takes it, they'd have to do it out of Stanford. So it would make things.
They have LA studios, I think, though, if they really wanted to do it in a central location.
For NBC, yeah. I mean, like, I mean, they have NBC Sports Bay Area, but they have like.
But I'm saying like all the major networks have an LA and New York studio in some way, shape, or form. So I could see them actually going to New York before going to Connecticut, possibly.
Yeah, well,
So
I mean, not to my knowledge, NBC. Well, they have 30 Rock where they do like Fallon and all that kind of stuff, so they could maybe do something there. But besides that, all of the sports stuff is done at Stanford for NBC.
I
Like
just don't
everything.
know if Shaq and Charles and
That's exactly it. Would they want to travel is the thing.
because Shaq had like the perfect gig. Like I think he lives in Atlanta, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
they probably all do, or they at least live around the area. Maybe they live in Florida or something. Like, they probably live all.
I think
through
Ernie lives in Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean,
So
I know Barkley's from the South, so he probably lives in either Georgia or Florida.
probably.
He's a Southern.
I
He's a
mean,
Southern guy.
I heard though that the NBC offer is like 2.5 billion.
Yeah,
Apparently, like they're coming to the table.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
big time.
It's crazy.
The last wrinkle of this story also is apparently TNT has matching rights in these NBA broadcasting talks.
Mhm.
So that's kind of rare too. That
Yeah.
apparently, so if an NBC or a Amazon comes to the table and says, "All right, we're willing to pay $3 billion," like Warner Brothers Discovery, which is TNT and TBS, they could technically say, "All right, we're matching, and it's ours."
Yeah,
I just don't see them matching that much money.
exactly. Do they have that much money to be able to?
Amazon like has an endless wallet.
Yeah,
it seems
Amazon
like.
prints money. Like it's crazy the amount of money that they have.
So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. My gut tells me that Amazon is going to be in this, whether it's a shared thing like this awful announcing story is saying.
Yeah,
I don't see TNT holding on to it exclusively anymore because that's a lot of money.
I know. I feel like either one of these are going to get some type of package, even if it's not the full package.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Ohtani. So this story kind of reared its ugly head again, and now we got more news on the front. So millions stolen from Shohei Ohtani funneled to bookie via Vegas casino. So now there are two Las Vegas casinos that have been named in this story, and there's a massive gambling operation that they uncovered in the process. So it says, and we knew about this already. The series of $500,000 payments by Ipe Mizuhara sent from Ohtani's bank account to an illegal booking operation forwarded to California and Vegas casinos, where the money was deposited in gambling accounts, converted to playing chips. Now, this part I didn't know. So apparently they converted it to playing chips and later cashed it out to pay the bookie.
I did not know that either.
I don't know if that's illegal.
It probably is illegal. I mean, the Ipe is he's facing a lot of time in prison. With the amount of
and a destroyed life.
Yeah, and a completely destroyed life. I mean, once again, though, my entire thought on this entire situation is like he might have got stolen from and all that kind of stuff, but it's still kind of like
it doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up, and it's impossible to believe that this much stuff and that much money was taken without any of his knowledge.
They underreported it, by the way, originally. They said it was $4.5 million.
Yeah, now they're saying 16. 16. You mean to tell me that he never noticed $16 million being taken out of his bank account until they made the bust? And
there's one more wrinkle too. When we talked about this story, I think it's been a month ago now since this story came out. So Ipe is $40 million in personal debt from gambling.
Yeah.
So the 16 million is not all the money. Where did he get the other 24?
I have no clue. It's crazy.
But that's another wrinkle to the story that people don't know.
And a superstar like Shohei Ohtani, how does he not have accountants and all that kind of stuff that keep track of his books?
Or how about calling? Hey, someone's getting into your account. Even if they're your family member, usually they're going to say, hey, someone's looking to get money like Do you approve? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Like,
at the very least, he was told about it. He knew something about it. Like he may not have been the one that was gambling, like a lot of people think. Like a lot of people, believe the conspiracy that he gambled all this money and he pays the fall guy and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily believe that. But I do believe that he knew something about this. That he kind of that he did like fund some of Ipe's issues and stuff like that. He had to have
oh yeah,
the story just does not add up. Like you cannot tell me that from a superstar like that in today's day and age. This could have happened in the 50s, maybe, where people were a little more naive, could take advantage of them and stuff. But with today's day and age, with the amount of accountants, with the amount of easy access you have to your bank accounts and stuff like that, you did never notice that much money being taken out. Like that does not make any sense.
there was a great former GM of the Marlins, David Sampson, who does a podcast on Meadowlark Media. That's Levitard's podcast company after he left ESPN.
Yeah.
And he said that for his Uber Eats account, like if he wanted to change something, he needed 3 forms of verification.
Yep, exactly.
How did a bank not ask for like 1 or 2 forms of verification?
I know. To withdraw that much money. Like, come on now. It's so true.
Right. And so that doesn't add up. Now, this is where it gets a little murky. This is some of the stuff I didn't know. Matthew Boyer, the California bookmaker, now he was known. He was the guy that was the bookie doing the illegal operation in California, who took Mizuhara's bets, was a frequent customer at Las Vegas Casino Resorts World. And the source told ESPN that Mizuhara paid his losses to Boyer's associate, who forwarded the money to his own marker. Now, I don't know if you know what a marker is in the gambling business.
No.
So a marker is a person who is basically credit, gives you money.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
So, like, a lot of times when like a big shot goes to a casino, they get a marker. It gives them money.
Yeah.
So apparently this took place at Resorts World and Pachinga Resort Casino in Southern California. So 2 big casinos.
Yeah.
And it says the men then withdrew chips from the marker account, gambled with them, and if they won, cashed out. Now, I think that's illegal too.
Yep.
And Boyer, who's the big name, the illegal gambling operation, lost almost $8 million at Resorts World from June 22nd to June 2022 to October 2023.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I know. It's just crazy. Like, there's nothing that adds up.
So Boyer's home was raided by federal agents on October 5th. He was dubbed a known bookmaker and banned from entering casinos across the United States.
This is wild.
Neither Boyer nor his associate have been named any indictment. Yeah, this story is wild. And it goes on and on and on to a point where it says Resorts World opened its doors in public in 2021 under the leadership of Scott Sabella, who was MGM's Grand's president from 2011 until he left for Resorts World in 2019. Now listen to this. This is where the irony comes in. Yeah. Sabella pleaded guilty to charges that as president of MGM Grand, he failed to file suspicious activity reports about another Southern California bookie named Wayne Nix. Now, you ready for the super irony of that name?
No.
So, Wayne Nix is a former minor league baseball player awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to, guess what? Operating an illegal gambling business and filing a false tax return.
Yep.
All in the circle of baseball.
Yep, exactly. So you mean to tell me that this, like, there's not a big link between a lot of these guys and, all this money disappearing? Like, come on now.
And when I tell you the clients of Wayne Nix, by the way, Scottie Pippen.
Oh, wow.
Yasiel Puig, who I think was caught for illegal gambling, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
And a name that you and I are going to know well, Maverick Carter.
Oh, geez, wow.
So when we say there's big wigs involved in all of this, there is.
Absolutely.
I mean, like you said, and I agree, Mizuhara's life is screwed. Plus, he is going to do jail time, but I wonder if somehow he's going to get off easy in jail time, though.
Yeah. He'll probably get like a hefty sentence, but it'll be like after like a few years or something with good behavior. He could probably get parole or something like that.
By the way, you ready for the funniest part of it? They asked him for restitution.
Wow.
Now, with $40 million in gambling debt, how are you paying restitution?
Yeah, exactly.
You have no money to your name.
Oh, man.
So this story just goes from bad to worse. And it says, unlike sportsbook where customers have to front money, bookie. Oh, this was the thing that they were claiming, which is true, by the way. When you go to a sportsbook, customers have to front the money.
Yeah.
Like if you go to any sportsbook in a normal casino, bookies allow people to bet on credit.
Yeah.
Meaning you ask them to put money down for you. And if you win, you get your portion, they take what they go, and you're on your way. But if you lose, you're in debt.
Yep, exactly. You owe them money.
I mean, it should ring a bell of a certain WFAN radio host also in Craig Carden, who kind of did himself in that way too.
Yep.
But he had the ticket business, which was paying for his gambling issues, and but this is a wild story, like just in every way, shape, or form. I think you're right. I think Mizuhara will get like a 15, 20-year sentence, and then they'll say like, all right, after 4 or 5 years, if you're on good behavior and you go to AA for gambling issues, we'll let you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is dumb because this is like a full like international. Oh, I don't know if it's international, but national gambling ring.
I know exactly.
So it is what it is. All right, we'll do 2 more stories because we're kind of over time here. Again, Mike Trout hurt, needs surgery for torn meniscus. This guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah, it's terrible. Honestly, like over the last few years, he's been so injury prone. He's been adamant on staying with the Angels as well, and the Angels are terrible again this year. They're about like 8 games under 500. I mean, after losing Ohtani, there wasn't much hope for them this season anyway. But you really wonder where this guy's career is really going to end up going. He's one of the best players ever. We've seen him in the playoffs one time, play one playoff series, which they ended up getting swept. And we've never seen him again since then. And now he's dealing with all these injuries and stuff. It's tough to see, and it's difficult for one of the best in the game.
His contract is an albatross. Also,
absolutely. His contract is crazy. The amount of money that they gave him, and I don't think with all the injuries he has, I don't think anybody wants to take that on. It's not.
He's damaged goods. He can't be moved.
Exactly.
No pun intended, by the way. But he is damaged goods, and like I'm looking at the contract. So it was 12 years, $426 million. That's insane.
Crazy.
So it started in, it looks like 2019.
Might have been the first year. So he's got
I guess it goes to 2031. Yeah. So he's a free agent in 2031, but I think his career is going to be over.
So
way over.
He's got like 7 years left after this.
Oh yeah, he's got 7 years and he can't stay healthy now.
Yeah,
and he's got my favorite, the idiot clause on his contract, also with the no trade clause.
Yeah, they should have tried to trade him a couple of years ago.
Well, he's not going anywhere. You think he's giving up any of that contract to move?
That's true. I mean, well, now he's not going to. I mean, a couple of years ago, they could have maybe they could have tried to strike a deal to get him to go somewhere while he's still at trade value. I mean, at this point, he is stuck there.
He's got 0 trade value now.
Yeah. Unless the Angels eat the majority of the money, which would be a sin. But
that would be nuts if they try to trade him now with, let's see, 7 years. So the numbers are even the rest of the way. So he's making, let's just for round numbers sake, say 35 million.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2025 to 2031, that's, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years. So if I can grab a quick calculator and do the math, that's 35 times 7. They would have to eat $245 million of the contract.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
And I just don't see them doing it.
I know. I don't think they would do it either. I think they're stuck with him, and I think he's like.
I hope they took injury insurance on this.
Yeah,
because you saw what happened. You saw what happened to Strasburg's contract.
Exactly.
They didn't have it, and now the Nationals are screwed.
Most of these contracts they give out, I think, don't have injury insurance on them.
I don't get, like, in baseball where contracts are fully guaranteed. There is no reason to give contracts like this anymore.
I know. And it's becoming more and more popular to give these 10, 11, 12-year contracts. It's crazy.
Even outfielders who are stars are not lasting anymore.
I know. It's insane.
I mean, I don't know. Would you classify Bryce Harper as surviving? I know he had an injury, but his contract is nuts. And I'm sure you saw the report that he was asking for a new contract.
Yeah, which is like crazy. I mean, and the fact that he's a first baseman / DH nowadays too, which makes him worth even less.
Well, but he has been playing first base for the most part.
That's what I'm saying. He's a first baseman / DH at this point. Like, he doesn't play right field anymore.
But at least he's not clogging up the DH like a Stanton is for the Yankees.
Exactly. But even first basemen don't get paid that much. I mean, they don't get paid as much as outfielders do.
Well, his contract originally was him as an outfielder.
That's exactly it. So
it would be fun. It would be fun to have a rule like where if you go from outfield to first base and if they had averages, like, it goes down to the first base value if you can't play the outfield anymore. Like,
that would be interesting.
But he's got a full no trade, so he basically controls his destiny.
Yeah.
I still think it would have been fascinating a few years ago, like you said. Like, put him with Bryce Harper in Philly.
I know.
Because isn't he like an Eagles fan? And also,
he's from Philly. He's from New Jersey. So
those were two teams that he was interested in, right? Like either being a Yankee or
a Philly. If he hit free agency, he never hit free agency though. He signed that extension before.
Because the Angels shoved $426 million down his throat.
Exactly.
Which I guarantee the Angels are probably questioning up the wazoo.
Yeah.
Right now. All right, we'll do one more story. This one for you, obviously. Chiefs signed Travis Kelce to a 2-year, $34 million deal. In my opinion, this is actually cheap.
It's absolutely cheap. And I think the reason why people got annoyed about it is because a lot of people were holding on to the hope that he would shockingly retire this offseason. And I was being told by so many people throughout the season this past year, like, oh, this is going to be Travis Kelce last year. Like
not sources, right?
Not sources at all. people who hate Travis Kelce and also hate the whole Taylor Swift thing too, and don't want to see that anymore. But the people were just like, he looks run down. He looks like he's been taking a beating. Like, he doesn't look like the same player anymore. I think he's going to retire after this season, regardless of what happens. And that was never really the case. Like, he has been open about how much of a beating he has taken throughout the years. Because, I mean, he's been in the league for 11 years now, and he's missed almost no games throughout his career. He's extremely durable. Like, he's definitely taken a beating.
He almost missed a game in the playoffs, but he played through it.
He almost did, but he pushed through it. And I think that this was well deserved. This is probably going to be his last contract, I would think. I think he'll probably play out this contract for the next I don't know if this takes over for his current contract, because I think he had a year left of his current contract. So I don't know if these two are added onto it, making him like under contract for 3 more years, or if it's just 2 more years. But
so it says 2024, 12 million. Oh, it looks like this hasn't really been updated. Oh, okay. So 2024, it says 12 million. So maybe he's going to get that. and then maybe 2 more years.
So he's probably under contract for 3 more years. This probably takes effect after next season, which was the last year of his contract.
I'll tell you right now, it would have been stupid if he walked away, considering that they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and to not be part of a possible three-peat, which has never been done in the NFL.
Exactly. Like, there was no way he was going to leave for somebody else too. And
he's making good money.
Yeah, and the Chiefs weren't going to let him leave. The Chiefs want him to retire a Chief, and he wants to retire a Chief as well. They don't want to see him in any other uniform. So they gave him the money. He's now, I think, the highest paid tight end in football after this contract. And he well deserved.
This is a home run, in my opinion.
I think it's a home run too. I think it's fantastic. I think the Chiefs have attacked this offseason fantastic. They paid Chris Jones and they paid Travis Kelce.
They had to.
And exactly, they had to. And a lot of people were upset about Jerry Sneed going and stuff, but like realistically, you weren't going to be able to pay him. Like,
they had to make a choice because of the cap. So
you can pay everybody. And Trent McDuffie will become a free agent in a year or two. If you paid Sneed, you were not going to be able to pay him. So now you have the possibility to potentially pay McDuffie.
I don't think Sneed was as important to the picture as everybody makes him to be.
He was a very good player. He wasn't there's nobody on that defense that was as important as Chris Jones, though.
I agree.
Over the last 1,000%. He has been the most important piece on that defense, and he was the one that needed to be re-signed. That's why I was very glad that they decided that they re-signed him. He'll most likely retire a Chief now. He's got 4 years. He got an extra 4 years on his contract, and he's pushing 30. So I think they hit a home run.
They got Andy Reid for like another 3 or 4 years too, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the GM also. I mean,
yeah, just extended him, and that puts more to rest too. Some of the Andy Reid retirements.
You know what though? Andy Reid is having too much fun right now in Kansas City.
Why would you leave? Exactly. Why would you retire if you're Andy Reid? You're in your mid-60s. He's got enough energy. I mean, like if he had health issues or something, that'd be a completely different story. He doesn't have any that we know of as of right now. He has enough energy to keep coaching, and this team is so much fun.
Him and Mahomes are a great.
They're a fantastic duo, and you're coaching the best quarterback in the league. Well,
why would you leave?
Exactly. Why would you leave? It makes no sense.
The Kansas City Chiefs are an anomaly in the sense of they figured it out. They've won back-to-back titles. They shouldn't have won. Let's be clear. Number one.
They should not have won the Super Bowl this year. They shouldn't have.
I mean, that's why you don't play the games on paper. But Baltimore probably should have been the favorite this past season, but they imploded against the Chiefs, especially in the fourth quarter of that game.
The Bills should have beat them, and the Ravens should have beat them.
But that just goes to show that Patrick Mahomes sometimes can single-handedly carry a team.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to playoff time, it's a completely different game. Doesn't matter how the regular season went.
The way I explained Mahomes, like I say, playoff Mahomes is like playoff Curry.
Yeah, exactly.
Where Curry, like the Warriors, are kind of just moving along because they knew they were going to make the playoffs, trying to conserve the energy, just make it through the season. Then when the playoff comes, it changes. And
exactly. Regular season is for getting a decent seeding, but once the playoff comes, that's when you put into effect every ounce of your skills.
I mean, think about, and I said this to Ben Cruz. I said that, who hosts our Hitting for the Cycle show and our Football Friday show and everything. We have two anomalies at the same time. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going for a three-peat, and it's UConn going for a three-peat.
Yep, it's true.
Can you think of a moment in sports history where we've had an opportunity to have two three-peats at the same time?
Well, no. You can't. I mean, the Lakers and Yankees almost did back in the early 2000s.
That makes sense, right?
But the Yankees, their last one was 2000, and then the Lakers' first one was 2000. So they were 2000 to 01 and 02. Yankees were 98, 99, 2000.
I think the Chiefs are a much better team, though, now going in, hopefully being healthy.
I think so, too. I think they did a good job in the draft. They re-signed all the guys that they needed to re-sign. I think that I'm confident that they're probably an even better team than they were last year.
It's fun to be a Chiefs fan. Let's put it that way.
It is
right now, because you could be in New York like I am and suffering as a Jet fan. But that's neither here nor there. But that's pretty much it. We made it through all the topics for the most part, except for one. I'm not going to waste our time on the Georgia pitcher and the cheating scandal. That could be for another day. But Paul, thanks for coming on and joining me. Tell people where they can find the show, 3&D, and I guess you can kind of talk about what's coming up because you know what's going to be coming up in your episode for the most part.
Definitely. You guys can check out the 3&D. Airs every Monday night at 5 o'clock on Empty the Bench. Basketball, we talk both NBA and college basketball. Going to be covering the NBA playoffs. Hardcore now with the second round getting ready to get started. So we're going to be having a lot of content with that. The second round coming up, taking a look at the transfer portal. The NBA draft will be coming up on the college side. So we'll be looking at that. Some of the college teams retooling. So definitely check us out. We've got a bunch of episodes out on the Empty the Bench channel here on YouTube. And to definitely check out our stuff and stay tuned. Monday nights at 5 o'clock. We air every week. Nick, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This was definitely a good time.
Yeah, so check that out. Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're full dive into the playoffs. Paul and I are going to try and do some games now that we're deeper into the NBA playoffs on Playback. We had a record month, which I can get into later. We had a really good first month with Playback. So I'm looking forward to doing more of those. But for this show, make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network across all platforms. Follow this YouTube channel, like Paul had said, youtube.com/ETB Network. For shows like the 3&D, Empty the Bench, Hitting for the Cycle, all our other shows. You can go find that as well. Listen to Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcasts. So Acast, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts. We're on all the platforms as well. So make sure you go check that out as well. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our audio platforms. The more you help us grow the platform, the more we can do more things. And like I said, Empty the Bench is presented by Playback, where we are doing all our NBA streams. So make sure you go check that out as well. So that'll do it for episode 231 of Empty the Bench. He's Paul Lombardi. I'm Nick Morgasen. Hopefully Tom is back next week for 232. And we'll see you all next week. Good night, everybody.